The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Mike Zullo, welcome.
Hey, gentlemen. Good afternoon.
It's good to have you. Listen, man, there's just so much we can talk about with this Obama fraud case, and I know I'm blessed to be able to, and privileged to be able to get to talk to you quite often, Mike. And so, if I sound like I'm getting ready to say something I shouldn't say, just clear your throat real loudly, and I'll know that I'm supposed to shut up. But I think I can keep all the confidential stuff confidential. But let me just begin here. My good friend Sharon Rondeau, who is the executive editor of the Post and Email on the internet, Post and Email, a news site, and she recently posted an article that just went crazy all over the internet, and it was reposted to P.P. Simmons and went berserk there. And you gave an interview in that article and some information, and so Sharon Rondeau, Post and Email, had this article basically outing an Obama bot, an infamous Obama bot by the name of, he goes by the moniker Dr. Conspiracy, as being tied in to with having some connections with Obama, in that this Obama bot is now working as a so-called government navigator. Fill us in. Just tell us, what is a government navigator? Who is this Dr. Conspiracy? How does he figure into this whole birth certificate investigation? And tell us about that whole thing, Mike.
Well, my understanding that a navigator is an individual hired by the administration to guide people into our new famous health care initiative, forcing everybody to take government-funded health care. The problem that we have with it is this individual, PJ Foggy is what his handle is on a website called the Fogbo, is someone who's not new to us. He is actually an individual that ran into a number of problems regarding his legal standing with I believe it's the California Bar Association. And that individual was under charges, if my memory serves me correct, and was going to lose his license to practice law. And right in those filings, as I believe Sharon Rondeau's put out there, this individual suffers from some kind of emotional distress, which, look, is a tough thing on anybody.
Right, right.
But
and this is a matter of public record, what you're telling us, right?
It is public record. It's out there to be found.
Yeah.
And, what this individual suffers from is, such a horrific affliction that, it causes some weird delusions, some paranoias, things of that nature. Well, this individual is a staunch supporter of the administration, so much so that, he can't wait, by his own admission, to start helping people get into this. It also should be pointed out that the scheme behind the healthcare initiative is also to register people to vote. So you have a pretty good idea of what the real plot is here, behind that, aside from the, destruction of our economic system. But that individual is in the forefront and has been somebody that's come out against the birther movement in general, and has come out against Sheriff Arpaio's investigation. And these are part of the same individuals that are trying to put forth now their idea of some newfound evidence that totally annihilates the work done by the Arpaio organization. And they're trying to put this out there as if it's from a credible source. Difficult to take information from sources that have such difficulties in their background.
Right.
And especially from sources that, for the most part, want to be anonymous.
Right.
Don't want their identity known.
Oh, yeah.
It makes it very difficult.
Yeah. But he goes by the moniker of Dr. Conspiracy?
No, sir. No, sir. Dr. Conspiracy is someone else.
Okay. I'm sorry. This guy goes by the moniker of PJ Foggy.
Correct.
Okay, Fogbo. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so this guy that you're talking about, and so it's a matter of public record, and of course you guys had to investigate it and dig through it and find it, but it's a matter of public record that this guy has mental health issues, and he is working to enroll people in the Obamacare program. Is that what you're saying?
I would say he's got some pretty serious, deficiencies, and the fact is that this individual couldn't pass a background check to get a firearm. this individual, because of what was related in the Bar Association's own record, was so afflicted by these, afflictions that he was going to lose his law license.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty tough road to hoe. And my heart kind of goes out to him on one level.
Right.
But the truth is, I wouldn't want to give my information, my private information, to individuals like this. There's no background checks for these people on the most part. Well, it seems like anybody can get in there and get a job, I guess, if you're affiliated with the right political party.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Isn't this oddly coincidental that this leader, this leader of the Obama bots, this guy who's been championing the cause of the birth certificate, claiming that it is totally legitimate, that he winds up getting this cush position in spite of his background? I mean, isn't that kind of strangely coincidental?
Just to say the least, and my understanding is these jobs pay as much as $48 an hour.
Good gracious!
What does the average guy worker out there make?
Yeah.
$48 an hour.
Yeah, the average guy signing up for Obamacare. Yeah, what does he make? Yeah. Well, now, so Sharon Rondo's article, didn't it talk about a guy that goes by the name Dr. Conspiracy?
I believe it did. Dr. Conspiracy is probably, I would say, he's the lead charger on the anti-birther movement. Kevin Davidson is his name. He first started out as being an anonymous poster as well. That seems to be a current theme with these folks, and there's only about 5 or 6 of them now that are still banging on the same drum.
Right.
But we've done a little research on him, not a lot, because we really don't have any need to at this point.
Right.
But he was another anonymous poster, and we've got the same access to the same Wayback Machines as everybody else does.
Right.
And he posts that he's blogging under a site saying that he's the person behind Obama conspiracy theories, that he's gained a lot of perspective on conspiracy theories about Barack Obama, and his interest is in providing documentation for claims and counterclaims, which to me is an odd statement. Counterclaims.
Yeah.
Documentation for claims. Are you pursuing the truth, or are you engaged in a war?
Right. Are you engaged in a disinformation campaign? Yeah.
But his background's a little more checkered than that, in the sense that he's got a background in computer science. He has worked his entire career in the field of computer science and worked in vital statistics offices creating vital statistics software. In other words, creating computer systems that create birth certificates was one of the things he's done. And he actually prints on one of his posts that he printed my first COLB in 1978 using a mini computer system that had only 80 megabyte hard drive.
So this guy, wait a minute now. So you're saying that this guy, Dr. Conspiracy, develops software to produce birth certificates digitally, and he is kind of the ramrod of this whole Obama birth certificate fraud thing. I mean, not fraud, excuse me. Let me back up. We're not saying he's the ramrod of the fraud, but we're saying he's the ramrod of trying to proclaim that the birth certificate is not fraudulent.
Yeah, I would say that's actually an understatement. I mean, this guy goes as far now as antagonizing Congressman Stockman by sending him tweets.
No.
Very, derogatory in anything he posts. This whole clan where you have PJ Foggy, you have Dr. Conspiracy, this other guy, RC, they're all of the same ilk. And their whole goal, apparently, in life is to do nothing but throw up red herrings and rabbit trails regarding this issue. As far as Dr. Conspiracy is concerned, he had a corporation which he founded and then sold and rolled it into another corporation known as QS Technologies, I believe it is. And he has a software program called QSTVRS.
Uh-huh.
And I'll send you over a link to that. It shows you the screen on how simple it is to create a birth certificate. But what's unique in his software is able to be altered. In other words, configured where you can change information, which I found very, very intriguing. Very difficult to take anything that these people that are so bent on one side of this issue
right.
and want to put forth information to you, not under really the guise of helping you. They think they're going to prove you wrong.
Right.
And you have these backgrounds. That's why it's very important for us to source the information.
Right. You got to know who you're dealing with, and that's why. And you've sourced. I mean, when the so-called birthers have brought you information, I mean, you sourced them. You knew them. You got names and addresses and phone numbers, and in some cases affidavits. Right.
Yeah, and I've been straightforward with anybody that wants to give me anything of substance. I'm not talking about a guy who sends me an email. I'm talking about somebody who wants to really supply us information.
Right.
I let them all be, well aware of the fact that we are going to need your identification.
Right.
We are going to run a criminal background check on you.
Right.
We are also going to need to know others involved in helping you getting this information.
Right.
So all those persons could be interviewed.
Right.
And Carl, in a couple of those 15-state trips that I went on, it was the sole purpose to sit down across a table
with
these very individuals,
right,
to meet them face to face and discuss the information they were bringing forward.
Right, right. Okay, thank you for that understanding, Mike. Listen, I just looked at the clock. We're way behind on our first break. When we come back, Mike, we're going to take a couple of phone calls, and then I've got a lot more to ask you, and I know you've got some things you want to reveal as well. So, folks, you don't want to miss this. You're listening to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. Brandon Gallups, my host, my co-host, and then, of course, Mike Zullo, my guest this afternoon. We'll be right back.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.